In half an hour here in Carlton, the bill, followed by peak practice. First, we're caught on camera.
Midday in central London. Caroline Elliott is on her lunch break. As she strolls along Oxford Street, she seems unaware of the dozens of surveillance cameras that record her every movement. But like anyone who ventures into the West End, Caroline could be caught on camera up to 300 times on an average day. With 20 times more CCTV cameras per capita than the States, we are now the most watched people in the world. Yet figures released early this year show a nationwide increase in levels of crime. So are Britain's 1 million cameras doing an efficient job of keeping us safe? Tonight on Caught on Camera, we put CCTV to the test when we invite 3 ordinary Londoners to see if they can dodge the cameras.
There's a fair few blind spots, and hopefully the guard that's going to be looking after us will be half asleep, so when I change clothes he won't see.
We preview some of the high-tech wizardry soon to hit a high street near you.
Historically, it's been very James Bond, and people think that it might happen. This is not a demonstration, this is the real thing.
And we ask whether CCTV is doing an efficient job of reducing crime rates in the capital, or just turning us into unwitting stars of our own Truman shows.
If they only knew how ineffective the cameras were in real terms, that all they did was record events, they didn't actually stop them, then you would find an enormous public backlash.
I see is beyond your dreaming.
This may seem like an unlikely launchpad for the future of surveillance technology. But the London Borough of Newham is the first place in the world to have in operation a computerized facial recognition system which networks all the cameras in the borough. It is able to link surveillance camera images to a computer containing a database of digital images of known offenders. If one of the criminals with a track record appears on the town centre's cameras, the computer automatically recognizes them and triggers an alarm to alert a human operator. The alarm is fed straight through to Newham Police Station, where a decision is made on what action should be taken.
The search speed that we now operate at when searching one face against the database is at 15 million faces a minute, and that is soon to increase to 60 million faces a minute. Now, to put that into perspective, we could search a face against the database of the whole of the population of Beijing in China in under a minute. CCTV systems have been used for post-event, i.e. an incident occurred and the footage from those cameras was used after the event to see people running away, such as the Jill Dando incident. What face recognition is now offering is a pre-event ability to say this person that is known to be a criminal has just entered this area, to alert the operators that something could potentially happen.
Newham's facial recognition technology has been in operation for over a year now, and crime rates have fallen significantly.
We first announced facial recognition in October of '98, and then we ran a 6-month experiment. Within that 6 months, of our top 100 criminals we had on the system, the top 12 were no longer active in this borough. So we've removed the top most prolific criminals from activity in this borough. Within that 6 months, crime as in respect of robberies went down by another 35%. We can effect the crime rate with CCTV, properly used, yes.
Understandably, perhaps, there are already plans to extend the system to other London boroughs. But although Newham's pilot programme is recognised as having been a success, Clive Norris, a criminologist and leading expert on surveillance, feels that wider claims about the effectiveness of CCTV are greatly exaggerated.
When we've actually looked at properly conducted studies, the findings are far more modest, and in some cases there have been no effect whatsoever. I think the most important recent study has been that came from the Scottish Centre of Criminology, done by Professor Jason Ditton. This is a major 3-year evaluation of the effect of CCTV in Glasgow town centre. It was methodologically very rigorous, and it found that there was no impact on crime. In fact, crime in the area under surveillance increased by 9%. Similarly, it had limited impact on detections, and it also didn't appear to have any great impact on fear of crime.
There is currently 1 camera for every 60 people in the UK. But with an additional £150 million of public funds pledged for extra CCTV, the government is clearly committed to increasing surveillance. We put the findings of the Scottish report to Home Office Minister Charles Clarke.
As I said before, I've not seen that particular study. The reports that I've seen, the research that I've seen done, suggest that CCTV has a positive impact both on crime and on the fear of crime.
Video evidence like this of shoplifters being arrested in Harrods certainly supports the argument that cameras are effective in the fight against crime. At Croydon's Whitgift Centre, James Deacon is responsible for monitoring the 63 remote-controlled cameras in the building.
Any sort of issues that we get, we can near enough pick anything up, anywhere, follow.
But is it possible to evade detection by the cameras? We decided to set up our own caught-on-camera challenge by recruiting 3 ordinary Londoners to put CCTV to the test. Teresa Bassi is a regular shopper at the Whitgift.
I know the shopping centre. I've been coming here for years. I do my shopping here regularly. I've actually worked in the Whitgift Centre as well. So I know a little bit of how the security guards operate.
Chris Wynier works as a security guard.
Am I going to win? I hope so.
Mark Devereaux installs CCTV systems for a living.
I think I'm going to do okay. I'm quite confident there's a fair few blind spots, and hopefully the guard that's going to be looking after us will be half asleep, so when I change clothes you won't see.
Their mission is to get from the north entrance to the central fountain in 10 minutes without being caught on camera. James is given only a written description of the challengers, and his job is to follow their every move on camera as they try to get from the start point to the finish. Each person is given a penalty point every time they are seen on camera. The winner is the person who appears on James's screens the least number of times. James thinks that it's virtually impossible to achieve.
If it was me, I wouldn't actually be able to come to a trick and say, right, I can get out of the way, because they can't actually see the cameras moving unless they're looking for them to move, so...
And they're off. Teresa and Chris pair up to put James off their scent. Three minutes later, having failed to detect their entry into the building, James is still searching for a glimpse of the challengers.
We're about 3 minutes in. Haven't located any of them yet. This is probably the hardest bit out of the whole thing, actually, is actually trying to locate someone.
At last, he gets his first sighting.
Our first two. He saw the camera go. give me a little smile.
Mark, meanwhile, has managed to evade the cameras completely. James is puzzled. He decides to concentrate on Chris and Teresa.
They've now split up.
And suddenly, Teresa disappears. James pans back to find if Chris is still in shot, but he's nowhere to be seen.
Control to all male officers. Can we be on the lookout for an IC1 male, about 6'2" tall, dressed all in black, and an IC1 female, brown hair, brown fur jacket. Last seen in the Alder Square area. Lost sight of them. If you see them, can you let us know?
In part 2, we discover whether our challengers ultimately succeed in dodging the cameras. We preview the computer wizardry that can predict violent and illegal behaviour, and we find out how it will affect our lives.
What happens when you connect all of the cameras nationwide through phone wires? What happens when those cameras start to recognise faces independently? And if you want to see the danger in this, just imagine, for example, a situation where you've had an argument with a boyfriend or a girlfriend in a pub. Might not be your fault, but an argument flares up. The cameras clock your face, they turn it into a mathematical formula and broadcast it around. You could find quite feasibly in a few years' time that you are barred from every pub. Automatically, you can't even walk through the door because your face will set off the alarm.
Back at the Whitgift Centre, and with 6 minutes to go, James the security guard is still searching for the 3 challengers.
My confidence is beginning to take a bit of a battering.
Teresa disappeared after leaving Chris. She managed to find a camera blind spot where she put on a disguise. Chris used the lift to make his escape. So far, Mark is in the lead, as he hasn't been seen at all. Chris and Teresa have both been caught on camera once. At the halfway mark, James calls for reinforcements again to maximise his chances.
Control Centre 20.
Hi, mate.
Yeah, do me a favour, mate. Pretty sharpish. Make your way up to view my IC1 male with 6'2" in the blue jacket, and another IC1 male, just in case they split up, mate.
So I've seen the IC1 female heading towards Woolworths. Roger that, mate.
Yeah, where exactly, mate?
Yeah, we're going up to the third level now, mate. I'm going to watch him from here and see where it goes.
This strategy proves effective in tracking Chris's movements.
Yeah, roger that, mate. I've got him on camera.
Yeah, camera 12, yeah.
But not very often do you see a smile.
Mark, the CCTV expert, has broken away from the gaze of the security guards and decides to change his jacket to try and fool the cameras. But James is up to speed now and spots him coming down the escalator.
He's changed his coat, mate. He could have let me know. Right, what about the female? We seem to have lost the female.
Surprisingly, our shopper, Teresa, seems to be doing a great job of dodging the cameras.
Seem to have lost her, is the easiest way to put it.
Chris makes a last-ditch attempt to make up his score. Time's up. Teresa arrives at the final destination and is joined by the others.
My guy's just entered Whitgift Square.
The final scores. Chris was unlucky. and was followed by the security guards and the cameras almost all the way to the end.
I think I did well up to the halfway point, but once after the halfway point, I couldn't get rid of the security guards. And they were everywhere.
Teresa did a great job and was spotted twice.
My hat, I actually had it inside my jacket. I had it down my sleeve. When we and Chris split up, I went round the back entrance. I'd seen what I thought was a blind spot in a shop doorway, so I thought, let's get it on.
Mark, the CCTV installer, was the winner. He was caught on camera only once.
I found a bit of a blind spot at the plant pots, and then as you come down the Mall into the main centre.
To start with, it was looking like it was going to go pretty well. Then the ducking and diving started, so that sort of started getting the old sweat going again. The only trouble is something like this that goes off when you're in the control room. Obviously the adrenaline is still pumped, but you're stuck here. Obviously if something does go down, you want to be there with your guys. CCTV is good, but you do need the backup of your team as well, and that's what we're all about really, team.
Center 120.
Many criminals, like this shoplifter, do get caught in the act. As a result of the successes of these surveillance systems, more and more businesses and institutions are opting to install CCTV cameras in order to reduce crime. Unfortunately, the cameras don't work for every scenario. Often after CCTV is installed in an area, criminals simply move to a place where there are no cameras.
I would accept that displacement is what you sometimes get. It's obvious that if criminals know that CCTV is in an area, then they'll move away because they don't want to be caught.
When surveillance cameras were installed in Croydon's town centre, for instance, crime decreased dramatically. Unfortunately, the neighbouring area of Coulsdon, which didn't have any cameras, experienced a sharp increase in burglaries.
Now, the way to deal with that is you can either put in more CCTV, or you can deploy mobile CCTV, which is something we're developing.
What we would land up with is cameras on every street corner, in every city, in every town, in every place. And do we really want to live in a society where our total movements in public space are permanently recorded by video cameras?
Studies into the effectiveness of CCTV also indicate that the best results are achieved in small towns, where people are aware of the cameras, rather than in large cities like London, where cameras don't seem to act as a deterrent to crime.
Think as we are getting the results of more properly conducted evaluation studies of CCTV, a pattern seems to be emerging, which is that in the smaller towns where the operators who are running the system know more of the people, there may appear to be a greater impact on crime. Still not necessarily massive, but notable, for instance, 10, 15, 20% reductions. It seems that in the larger cities, for instance in Birmingham, in Glasgow, in parts of London, that the effect has been almost negligible, indeed sometimes no effect at all. So it may be something to do with the density of population and the number of people in an area, and whether the operators and the police actually know the people that are being watched.
Not only are our actions constantly recorded by surveillance cameras, but soon we will fall under the gaze of devices so sophisticated that they will be able to predict our every move. Researchers at Reading University have developed a computer program which can take the place of expensive and often imperfect human operators. The program, which has been named Eagle, is able to identify suspicious behavior. It works by correlating distances between objects on the screen and matching the movements to pre-programmed definitions of what might constitute criminal activity. If it recognizes that a moving object on the screen is displaying a behavior pattern stored in its database, it will set off an alarm.
It would be useful for surveying, for example, car parks. So if you had in a car park somebody loitering with the intent to commit a crime, then this system would be able to detect the fact that they were loitering and alert a human operator. Human beings are not very good at monitoring screens. So what's happened is we have an enormous number of surveillance cameras in this country, but not enough people to watch them. And it's not an activity that people do very well.
Researchers are now working on the next generation of super technology, which will be able to predict the movements of whole groups of people, enabling, for example, the more efficient control of crowds in a riot.
I think that as we have more video surveillance, there'll be less necessity for the police to patrol in public places, and that these can be monitored centrally in order to detect crimes.
There is a whole generation of new technology which claims to understand human behaviour, to recognise and understand and interpret human behaviour. Frankly, I think if that technology works, and I doubt it, but if it does get to the stage of working, it will be probably the most dangerous piece of technology that has ever been created.
There is now technology on the market which allows cameras to pick up conversations hundreds of meters away, sense pressure changes, and even detect smells. With 1 million cameras already in place around Britain, it seems that in the future we will see the use of even greater levels of surveillance on our streets. As we discover more sophisticated ways to fight crime with the help of new technology, some are concerned about issues of privacy.
I don't feel optimistic about the future for Britain or the future for individual rights. I think that what's going to occur over the next few years is we are going to become a more passive, more dominated society. The reason for that is because state power will increase, surveillance will increase, each individual will know that he or she is being monitored. You destroy the natural relationships in a society. That's Britain's future, unless it takes action now.
But those who are using the technology with success feel that as long as the safeguards are in place, innocent members of the public like Caroline Elliott should have no concern about being caught on camera.
One principle that I think everybody in Newham is agreed to is that the most basic of human rights is the freedom to go about your business without interference of others. The infringement of that human right by the small percentage of the population who are criminals is totally unacceptable, and totally unacceptable to this borough. So what we're here doing is protecting that basic human right without infringing the rights of privacy.